Hi.
Hi.
We got like a major gear update. We got
Introducing
wireless. We can now talk and we can be at a distance. You can appreciate our physicality.
our anatomies.
Well, yours at least. You're more exciting, I think. Okay, so today we're going to speak about a particularly spicy, contentious, difficult, bitey subject, which is the idea that the best, you're ready, the best apology is changed behavior. And so the idea is this, so I'll just kind of run it down really quickly and then we can kind of get into it and get dirty. So the idea is you can make as many promises as you want or say, oh, I'm going to change, or I'm sorry I did this, or, you know, you can always apologize for things. There's nothing wrong with apologizing for things. But really, as you go into a long distance, when you go into a long relationship, I was going to say a long-term relationship, what's really important is, you know, are we breaking patterns, or is it like, you know, you do something and it's shitty for me and I get upset and you apologize, and then you do it again a week later and you do it again 5 weeks later and blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, I don't know, I do something in the bathroom and you hate it and then you ask me not to and I say I'm not going to, and then I do it again and I do it again and I do it again. And so this notion of, if you are going to break a pattern and there is hope that, you know, I'm going to stop doing something or you're going to stop doing something, then really the measure is the behavior and our actions, not our words, not our thoughts, anything. It's just, am I still doing it or not? Are you still doing it or not?
Yes, it's true. We, in our particular history, I think I've caused more damage. Because one, I think it's a like surviving mechanism. Survival is that I forget many things. I'm very forgetful. And so I'll say that I won't do something or that I will do something and then do it again or not do it. Unlike I said I would. And also,
which then brings up all sorts of trust issues, right? When
right.
I do that, or you, I'm not saying specifically you, but I do that, or you. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. I'm not trying to interrupt here, but like it's you know, how much faith and trust you can have in your partner to do things or whatever, right?
And also, one of the main troubles we've navigated as a couple is the fact that I have tended to have like a very weak word. So, I mean, it's combined with the forgetfulness, but it's also just like maybe not such a strong will or lack of discipline. So that has like majorly affected us. So, yeah, there's like wounds there. And also, I've been on the other part, you know, the frustrated part too. And there are some things that you've done that I'm like, please don't do that. And then it happens again. And so it's like how to navigate. Like on one hand, it's maybe being patient. We are changing, we're processing, but things take time. And on the other hand is you keep saying something and then it doesn't happen, and like I'm growing too, I'm healing too, and like what's the room for frustration, you know, or tolerance for this behavior that doesn't match like my higher or my ever evolving self. So I do agree with the notion that certainly it should be evident, you know, it should be visible that you care about what the other person is requesting, and that it's visible, you know, that caring and that priority.
Right. Can I say something?
Yeah.
So I think it comes into play in with other stuff that we've spoken about, you know, like where's the line between a healthy boundary, like I'm worth this, I'm worth being treated this way, or you're worth this, you're worth being treated this way, accommodating other people's shit, mistakes, imperfections, humanity, right? And like where you draw lines. And it's interesting because I've seen countless relationships, ours included, draw lines, then break the lines. Draw lines and say, this is where I draw the line, and then break the lines, and then you're like, okay, well, is this codependency or is this, human, So it's like, okay, well, if it was something like physical abuse or psychological abuse, right? Where like I was abusing you and you're like, you know what? You can't ever fucking do this again. And then if I do it again, you're like, okay, I move out of the house or something like that, right? Or something like you're abusing the kids, or like one of us is like, I don't know, whatever, we're doing drugs around the kids, or like there's certain things that are a little bit more, they're easier, to draw the line. And then you have like these subtle, like, I'm being shitty to you. Okay, so like in our relationship, there's stuff like fighting in front of the kids, or raising our voice, or calling each other asshole. This has been a recent one. Or lying to each other, or withholding really important information from each other, right? And so it's a really interesting balance, because like on one hand, it's easy to say, you know what, you broke this rule and you fucking suck, right? And then there's another one like, okay, like you said, you're healing, I'm healing, and we're going through a process, and so to bring it back around, how often are you still doing it? Is there a movement in your action towards this being better, So at the very least, it's like, okay, are we going in the right direction? And then it's like, okay, well, what are like the sub-levels of, maybe this isn't a firm line, but it is a firm line that we're driving towards, and eventually we'll get to it, but you're making the effort, I'm making the effort, But I think it's really important, because it's this moment of, because it's really easy, if you haven't been in a long relationship, to be like, well, if this person calls you an asshole once, you should just fucking walk out the door. Sorry for all the language. I don't even know who that person is, but they're an interesting character. But you should just walk out the door and never come back. And yes, maybe for some people that works. Maybe for some people, I don't know, they've just got, it's not, you can't justify mistreating someone, right? But at the same time, we all suck sometimes. Yeah. And we're all in pain sometimes. And sometimes, I don't know, you have a migraine or something, and you call the other person an asshole, or you're in a really bad mood, and you don't have patience, and you raise your voice with them, or, whatever it looks like. And it's like, okay, is this forgivable or not? And then you have that conversation, like, what does it really mean? Because if you raise your voice to me, or I call you an asshole, or whatever it is, you're saying through your actions that I'm not worthy of your self-control. But at the same time, how much can you expect of someone, right? So it's like, we've been navigating this, like what's realistic to expect of someone who's healing, who's growing, and what's absolutely unacceptable, to receive from the other person. Like for us, like fighting in front of the kids, it's taken us forever.
No, but it's grown to be intolerable. Like we can't stand it anymore.
Okay, but it's a lot less frequent than it was before.
Yes, that's what
like
I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming to a point where it's like, nope, like not happening.
But it's it's literally taken us years.
Yes. Before we finish, I would just like to say that for me, Mike also forgets some things. But let's just say that in our relationship, I'm the forgetful one. So something that I try to do...
I'm not free of forgetfulness.
You are not. Something that I've begun doing now that I'm... I believe that in the last year or like 18 months is when I've most noticed changes, in like my self-respect and the respect that I show you. So something that I've tried to do in that very particular respect is that I will try to have a moment of complete mindfulness after you request something. So I try to like go into a space of silence and presence and consciousness and just kind of like repeat it to myself and be like, I love Mike. This is what he's expressing he wants or needs. I can recognize that this has been my pattern or my behavior. This is what he wants and needs. And then I kind of like take a moment to picture it, to imagine it. Next time something like this comes up, then this is how I want to act based on the fact that I want my partner to feel respected and seen and important. And that has been very helpful, just like materializing it in my brain, visualizing it, and just like bring awareness and also maybe a moment of like self-love, like, okay, I fucked up in the past. I can change. I am growing. I love him. He loves me. let's do this.
Let me say one last thing. For me, it's also a really big one is realizing that it doesn't matter how I feel, it doesn't matter what I think you've done and how horrific it is and horrible and violent and unfair. How I express my needs, how I express how I feel, needs to be respectful, because you are a human being and you have feelings just like I do, and regardless of whatever narrative I may be locked into in the middle of a conflict, you deserve respect, and you deserve me to speak to you in a way that shows that I care about you. And it's been a very, very long process for me and very difficult for me, because I'll get locked into my shit, and you know, you're like a you're like a caricature. You're like a narrative in my head of someone who you know has wronged me, or whatever it is in a conflict. And in that moment, to see you as my wife, as a human being, as someone on the other side trying to see me and trying to also deal with your shit, it's something I've been working on a lot.
I've noticed it.
All right.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.